Good afternoon and welcome to Pure Hangouts. My name is Sophie Seawright. I'm the content editor for Pure London, which is a show for buyers and boutique owners to buy their season's collections, and it takes place in Kensington Olympia in July. If you did want to join us, there'll be a link on this page, so do click on there. In the process of putting together the keynote sessions and seminars for the show, we do lots of research with the boutique owners and buyers to see what they're struggling with. And what we're getting this season is a lot of information, a lot of struggle around creating content and using it in the right way. So I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Georgie, who actually I've come to their lovely offices, recently redecorated. And Georgie is going to share with us her thoughts on how to create wonderful content. Georgie Coleridge-Cole is the editor at SheerLux, and there's a link for that on this page as well. Thank you so much for having us, Georgie. It's lovely to be here.
Pleasure.
Could you just describe what SheerLux is?
So it's an online magazine. It started as a directory in 2007. But today, content is at the heart of the business, and we cover fashion and lifestyle.
Fantastic. And it's a business you've started yourself, isn't it? How did you come to the conclusion that this was the business that you were going to start?
God, it's a bit of a long story. The short version is I wanted to be a personal shopper, and then thought I'd write a book about the best places to shop on the high street. The book idea turned into a website idea, which was a directory, and today it's really about content.
And the people who are your customers, have they evolved during that process?
Not really. The idea was always to create content for women that like nice things, and for real women. I think our positioning has changed perhaps a little bit. We started off as a slightly more luxury site, and I realized pretty quickly that actually the kind of women sitting at their desks spending £10,000 on a crocodile skin handbag didn't really exist, and that we needed to create content for real women. So perhaps slightly the positioning of the content, but no, I don't think it has really.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine people who are looking for things to buy during their lunch break are looking for a much lower price point, and those who are looking to spend £10,000 on crocodile skin are probably on their yacht somewhere. So yeah, you can see how that.
Yeah, and I mean, 93% of our traffic comes from the UK. 75% of our readers work. 50% live within the M25, so wow, okay. It's pretty targeted demographic.
Okay, and in terms of the content that you create, could you just tell me how you go about creating it and how you then share it?
So we have an editorial team of 6, I think, currently, and a few interns. And they're in-house. We don't really use freelancers. Well, we don't use freelancers at all. We have a sub-editor who is a freelancer, so 6 plus her. And we create about 12 pieces of content a day. We work with some contributors. So they might be freelancers wanting to build up their portfolio, or real experts in the industry who want to raise their awareness to SheerLux readers. But we don't pay any freelancers. It's all done in-house every day.
Yeah, and that's a lot of content actually. You must all be working all cylinders firing to generate that.
Yeah, everyone works incredibly hard here. It literally never stops. It's relentless.
It's been very quiet this morning. We're actually in the office now, and everyone's really been working hard. A living testament to that definitely being the case. And who comes up with the ideas? Is that a collective effort as well?
Yeah, our deputy editor Astrid runs the calendar. And everybody contributes. She holds a weekly meeting where everyone comes up with ideas, and we get everyone from every team, from the brand team, from the commercial team, to really pitch in, because everyone's interested in different things, so it's useful to have different perspectives. So it's a real team effort in terms of what we cover, and we're looking around all the time on social media and other print media and other online media, and seeing kind of what's happening. And books are a really good source of inspiration as well. There are so many books, especially in the kind of wellness category, coming out all the time. So they're always a good place to look for contributors and ideas.
Actually, athleisure is a growing area for us at Pure as well, so it very much makes sense that the lifestyle thing is increasingly important for people.
And obviously, sorry to interrupt, but on the fashion side, fashion is our biggest category. We partner commercially with with most high street fashion brands and all the kind of big multi-brand boutiques online and department stores that are online. And their stock's changing all the time, especially with multi-brands. So that lends itself so well to content, because there's always something new to talk about.
Absolutely. And once that content's generated, how do you then measure the success of it?
The KPIs vary. We look at, email is our biggest traffic driver. Our database is so targeted. It's these women choosing to hear from us every single day. So we're looking at how they interact with our email, how many people open our email, how many people click on each feature, what they do then once they get onto that feature, how many click off the feature onto the websites that we featured in the content. We look at how many people favorite it. We introduced new functionality called My Favorites, which allows people to view a piece of content and then hit a little heart at the bottom and save it to their favorites, so that when they come back to the site, they can find it. And that was something our readers were telling us. They were saying, people used to email in and say, I remember you wrote a great feature on places to stay in New York or something. I can't find it. And however good your search is, it is quite hard to find it. And search is just never that straightforward when you're dealing with content. So we created this functionality. So you arrive at your favorites, and it's a bit like a Pinterest board. So we'll look at the number of people that have favorited something, and the number of sales that have been driven. So there's affiliate tracking set up with lots of the merchants or retailers that we work with. So we can see via that tracking how many purchases it led to. Having said that, A, we don't work purely on a CPA affiliate basis with any brands, and B, we have a big branding role to play. I think people really get that in print, but online they kind of think it's all about sales, and ultimately it is, otherwise no one's got a business. But our role in terms of influencing people and sort of planting the seed and being at the early stage of the journey is really valuable, as well as just closing the sale at the end, at which point Google usually comes along anyway and gets the last click.
And actually, to extrapolate that to social media, we'll often hear from our experts at the show that an 80-20 split is best in terms of interesting content versus content that's more product related. So when the retailers are learning about how to do great social media and to build their brand, that's kind of what they would ideally be aiming for. But actually the temptation is to go 100% product, isn't it, when you've got lots of product to sell? So it's interesting that you said that.
Well, for us, the introduction of the lifestyle category has been really successful for the business, because there's only so much product you want to look at, and we actually do less product than we did originally, but it's better and it's more authentic, and it just gives a much less salesy impression. And I think people aren't stupid, they can see what you're trying to do, so you need to kind of dilute it.
Yeah, absolutely. We were chatting earlier about the print magazines and how there's a lot of paid for content in there, and it's actually now very easy for us to spot that. How does your relationship work with all the brands that you work with? How do you represent them?
Well, we work on a partnership basis, so we'll work with the brand, we'll have an amount of budget, we'll create content around that, but we are very picky about who we work with, and we do say no to brands if we don't feel like it's right for our readers and a good fit for the SheerLux brand. So ultimately we're a business and we've got salaries to pay and rent to pay, and I don't work this hard for fun. So yeah, we're a business, we've got to make money, but I think we do it in a way that maintains our credibility.
Well, you were saying that you've had a piece go up last week that was one of the most popular ones with Vestiaire, which was a partner one, wasn't it? How did that sort of come together?
Yeah, so that was a piece with Vestiaire Collective, and they sponsored our Women's Day, and in return we were going to do something on them on the site, and they'd produced this brilliant detox your wardrobe guide, and I saw it. We put it in the goodie bags at the event, and I saw it and I was like, that's amazing. And they'd done this really great kind of flow diagram, is it torn or broken or something, bin it or do this or upcycle or whatever. And I thought, that's so great, we should feature that on the site. So we did, and we put some other quotes in that we got from them, and we kind of really brought it alive into a full feature. And yeah, that was our best performing piece in terms of engagement last week, which is obviously great for their awareness and branding.
And a great sign that you're working really well with partners and that people aren't turned off by it.
Yeah.
I would recommend looking at it. It was, what's the title of the piece?
I think it was How to Detox Your Wardrobe.
Yeah, I read it. It's a great example of working with partners. In terms of your content generally, what would usually be your best performer?
Well, fashion is our biggest category. But yeah, the lifestyle's really key, and you know, a lot of our our content, a lot of it is what's going on in London and the UK, and there are so many exciting things, and people struggle to keep up with them, and that's part of our role, is to keep our readers in the know. So yeah, I'd say lifestyle, although that's pretty broad, and also wellness. You know, we're in this sort of, I always say, this wellness revolution, and you know, whether it's food or fitness, or general kind of well-being, those pieces perform really well.
Okay, and does that vary at all according to the time of the week or the time of the year or anything else?
Not really. People always think Fridays don't do so well, but actually Fridays can do really well because people engage with that content on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Not so much. I mean, obviously the seasons and the trends dictate what you do, and you do more gifting things at Christmas, but no, not really.
And over the last couple of years, is there any type of content that has consistently underperformed and therefore you'd stopped doing? Any particular topics that weren't really working out?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started the business, we were perceived to be very high-end and luxury, and luxury is such a vague word. I mean, everyone has their own definition of luxury, but you know, it might be Topshop for one person and Net for another. So we're kind of very aware that our demographic is broad. But probably initially we were quite high end, and like I was saying before, those people with £10,000 to spend on a bag are not sitting behind their desk on a Monday. They're not working, and they've got So I'd say, we try and make everything we do really real, and I think that's why we've been successful, and that's what people always say. People come up to me the entire time and say, you are literally the only email I click on every day. I mean, every day there's something for me. So we just try with everything we do to be, for it to be something that's going to resonate with, you know, modern women that like nice things, and that's our kind of overriding approach always.
That makes a lot of sense. And in terms of your use of photos and imagery, can you just talk me through how you decide what images to use and what your thoughts are on it generally? The reason I ask is because it's always a top topic at the show, with the relationship between the exhibitors providing images and the retailers who need to use them online. There's always an interesting relationship there. But for you, what works best?
Something that's completely impeccable, and it is the most important thing. Thankfully, in the last few years, the quality has improved hugely. But I remember when we started, the kind of images brands wanted us to use, and brands who wanted to be sort of sat alongside Net, and you know, you'd have to say to them, you know, we can't put you in a feature next to a product that's been shot to the Net-a-Porter standard of photography, because it just pulls the whole thing down. So it's so important. I think unless you're using the best stylists and the best studios and the best, you know, campaign imagery can be pretty awful. But we're in this sort of street style era where you can do cleverer things. You can kind of create content out of your photography. And I think I was saying to you when we spoke before that Millie Malou is a great example of a handbag brand that does that, and they don't have ridiculous budgets. They're doing very well, I hasten to add, but you know, they produce product shots, they produce campaign shots, but then they also shoot their bags in a kind of street style fashion with street style photographers and with sort of real women. They'll use people in the industry, so they'll use editors or they'll use some bloggers. But for us, that's just gold to have that that kind of choice, and B, that kind of editorial approach to their photography just makes our lives really easy. But for us, images are just everything. I mean, we spend hours and hours poring over images and making sure they're right, and that's probably the thing I spend way too much time on, but it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll resonate with a lot of the retailers because they are under pressure to choose great images for what their web presence now is, and it can be difficult to get those images. So yeah, I think that.
But there are, you know, companies like Hungry Tiger and Fast Shot, you know, who aren't prohibitively expensive, but generally doing it with a light box in your office just doesn't get you the results that you want.
Yeah, for sure.
That you need.
And in terms of your social media strategy, moving on, how does that look at the moment?
Yeah, it's important. We use, I mean, the channel that's the most, probably the highest priority is Instagram. We're such a visual business. I mean, we use Twitter, we use Facebook. We've just started a YouTube series, SheerLux Live. So we're now working with video. So yeah, social is important, of course. Email is our medium, yeah, and it'll be interesting to see the shift or the change, you know, with email. What the future of email is, I don't know. But for now, yeah, social is obviously important, and we have a couple of members of our team who look after it. But equally, you know, email is our main traffic driver, and as I said, our database is very targeted, and we know we get the quality from them.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a fantastic targeted database, which, you know, enables that to really be a very strong platform for you. So that makes loads of sense. And I've just got a couple of questions, because you're running an amazing business which you set up yourself, which is awesome. Is there anything that you wish you'd known when you set up the business about how the early years were going to be? Anything you might have done differently?
Oh gosh, probably lots of things I'm glad I didn't know, because I don't know if I'd have done it. Gosh, I don't know. It's been 9 years and a lot of hard work, and it still is. You know, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's so rewarding. That's so cheesy, but it's true. Yeah, I think you just have to have a really clear vision, but also let it evolve and adapt, and you kind of have a concept, but it changes. So yeah, probably lots of things. I don't think I've answered that question very well.
No, it completely makes sense. And most of the people watching are going to be people who own their own retail businesses and who have been through a lot of what you've faced in the early days of your business. And it just sounds like it's such hard work and incredibly rewarding.
But good, but like, totally
exactly.
Don't regret it for a minute. I really don't. But as I said, you know, I don't think I ever believed. I thought in 9 years I'd have sold it and be, you know,
Branson,
on some island drinking mojitos.
Yeah,
not yet.
Nearly. Wandsworth drinking mojitos. It's kind of the same. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really, really useful. I'm really grateful for having us. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll hope to see you at Pure in July. If you do want to come along to the show, you need to be a trade buyer, and there's a link on the page to click through there. And also do visit the SheerLux website, because they've got loads of fantastic content that's very inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us.